So yes, he said we're here to present one of the new features that we are building for Liferay 7 and Liferay DXP. It's named Adaptive Media, and it's aimed to send the best content to the right channel or to the right device. Before we start with the presentation and the different features and capabilities that we're going to provide with this app, I'd like to do a travel to the past, so we can see how the websites look like in the early days of the internet. And in order to do that, I don't know if you guys know, but there's this Wayback Machine that is actually, you can just type a URL, and it will take screenshots during the time that they could. I guess that it goes back up to 1990 or something like that. And you can see how a website evolved during the time. So we want to see how Lego looked like in 1990. This was the website. You can see it's pretty basic. It's very content-oriented. You can just see mostly text, but they were quite smart, and they introduced some GIFs, some animations that they make it a little bit smoother. So another example, if you look at apple.com, back in '97, that it's Apple, it's a very design-oriented company. This is how it looked like in '97. Again, no design at all, almost no images at all. It's mostly text, mostly content, and they are trying to get to the audience through the text. And the same happens even to Liferay.com, a little bit further, in this case in 2003. And it's, again, a very simple design, almost no media at all, no images, only those small images on top. Yeah, there's actually somebody sleeping there. I don't know if you can see it. But so that obviously changed, and that obviously evolved during time. So if we look at now how those websites look like at the present time, they are totally different. In the case of Lego, you can see that it's much more visual. It has contained like a lot of backgrounds, a lot of even videos. Like, it's very colorful. It's completely different. It's more oriented to the end user in terms of usability and in terms of experience. The same happens to apple.com, and they changed a lot. If you remember before, it was mostly text and content. Now, they almost have no text at all. It's mostly images, and that's it. They're just trying to impress you with really nice images and really nice backgrounds and maybe some videos and some effects. This is the other extreme of what we had before, so you can see the evolution. And same applies to Liferay.com. This is the community website. It's mostly images with some mottos, very small text, but they are just trying to be very visual. So you can see that this is a big evolution, a big step compared to what we had in the early days, compared to what we have right now. But how much does this cost? What is the impact that this is causing? So here you can see how is the page size in terms of what it was before and what it is right now. Back in 2010, the total page size of a website, this includes HTML, CSS, JavaScript, fonts, images, everything. The average page size was around like 700K. Do you know how much is the average page size right now, back in 2017? Do you have any idea? Just a rough number? 3? 3 megas? Somebody else? 4? It's close to that. Oh, sorry. It's actually 3.3 megabytes, including CSS, JavaScript, HTML, videos, everything. This is the page size. This is what you are actually transferring to your device. So it's almost 5 times bigger. It's in 7 years, it increased 5 times. So it's a lot. This is the distribution of a page size back in 2010. You can see that almost 3/4, they are basically images. And if you compare that to 2017, you see that images is still getting a big piece of the pie. More than half of the page size is images, and video is getting a bigger piece of the pie. So how did the image size, now we're just focusing on image size, how does the image size evolve during time? You will guess that it's mostly like increasing, it's linear. It started around like 400K, and right now we are talking about 1.8 megabytes only of images in the average website. So this is what we are transferring to the devices in order to render most of the websites. But you may be wondering, is this because we are sending more images? Because maybe before we only used like a couple of images, and now we are using hundreds of images. So if we look at the number of images that are served in an average website, you will see that it's not actually increasing. It's mostly constant. Like, we are sending around like 50 or 55 images per website. And that almost kept constant during the time. we are not sending more and more images in new websites. So if you actually put those graphs together, the conclusion that you can get is that those images, the ones that have been used since 2010, they are getting bigger and bigger. It's not that we are sending more images, it's that the images that we are sending are getting bigger. And if you combine this with the average connection speed, that right now we're about to get 5G, that will give us even more speed. The truth is that the average speed in the world is around 7.2 megabytes. So that will also depend on the country that you are based on. You can get like speeds that start like very well-developed countries, but there is really slow speeds as well. So if you combine this is where adaptive media comes in. You are getting bigger images, you are getting somehow like a limited speed connection, depending on the countries, and adaptive media is trying to solve that. It's actually an application that it will be available in Liferay Portal and Liferay DXP through the marketplace. And while I was coming up with this speech about how to present it, how to describe what is adaptive media doing, yesterday I got a meme, one of these things that you get through WhatsApp, that it was actually quite amazing. I thought I could use it in the slide to present what is adaptive media looking like. So this is what adaptive media is doing for you. It's resizing one of those images through the different image resolutions, so those images will fit to your device. Okay? This is mostly what adaptive media is going to do. So in order to go through more detail, it's serving the right content to the right channel. It's optimizing those images so they will fit to the device capabilities. And it will do it based on certain image resolutions that an administrator needs to set up before. So you can define a specific set of resolutions, and adaptive media will transform those images to those resolutions. It will obviously reduce the page size. It will improve the loading time of those websites. And one of the coolest things is that everything is done automatically for the end user. Like your content creators, they don't need to do anything special. They will just need to follow the same procedures that they were doing before, and you will take advantage of all these benefits. So we're going to see the process of how adaptive media works and the different things that you might need to do in order to get full advantage of this. The first thing is you need to define image resolutions. This is probably done by an administrator who will know the audience that they are targeting, and they need to come up with the different sizes of the devices that they want to target. So this is a video. You can see a DXP installation, and you can access adaptive media as an application in the control panel. So if you click adaptive media, you will see a list of resolutions. By default, we provide a thumbnail resolution that is 300 pixels by 300 pixels. They will be oriented to small images, but you can create your own. In the first section, you just need to type like some metadata, like the name of the resolution and the description. In the second section, you need to specify which is the maximum width and the maximum height of the devices that you are targeting, and you can actually also use it for high definition displays. And finally, there is the identifier section that is oriented for using the API by third-party applications or by external apps. So once you save the image resolution, you are done. You can just set as many image resolutions as you want to have to target the different devices. Now, the user starts uploading images. You can upload an image, for example, to documents and media. So let's see how the process works. You have Liferay, and then you have an image that you want to upload, and you have adaptive media installed on top of Liferay. So the user starts uploading that image to documents and media, and that image is actually saved there. And once the image is saved in Liferay, it will trigger some events saying, hey, this user uploaded this image. So adaptive media is listening to those triggers, and it will automatically start creating different images based on the image resolutions that the administrator set before in a different process. This is done via the message bars, and it's done asynchronously, and it's done in parallel. So it will process as many images as you have defined. Once those images have been automatically generated for you, they will be attached or they will be linked to the original image. At this point, the process of the resolution is done. The new image resolutions have been attached to the original image, and this process is done. So now that you have all those images created, and as you can see, all this process was completely transparent, like the user didn't do anything special, now you need to take advantage of it in your content. Adaptive media is by default integrated with blogs and web content. So here you can see a demo about how to create a blog entry with an adaptive media image. The user starts filling all the title, subtitle, and content using Alloy Editor. You select the image that you want via the image selector. This is the right image. It will preview. Then once you are sure that this is the image you want, you just select it. You publish the blog entry. This time, everything will be saved for you. And if you actually display the blog entry, this is how it will look like: the title, the subtitle, and the image. Do you notice anything special? Like, do you notice any extra step that we need to do in order to use adaptive media here? You didn't, because you don't have to. You just need to follow the exact same steps to use adaptive media images that you would use without adaptive media. And the only way of noticing that we're actually using adaptive media and that we are saving bandwidth and we are improving the page load is if you inspect the HTML. If you inspect the HTML code of this, you will see that we are not using an image tag. We are using a picture tag with different URLs depending on the screen resolution of the device that is previewing this image. So we're going to explain this in a little more detail in the next slides about how adaptive media is actually rendered in the browser. And we are doing this with this new picture tag supported by HTML. It's basically the syntax where you need to specify different URLs that they will have different image resolutions, and you say this URL, it's targeted for this specific device with these capabilities, with this width, and with this height. And even if that fails, we have a fallback. You can see that there is an image tag inside the picture. So in case that something's go wrong, it can fall back into the original image. At that point, it wouldn't be optimal, but still it will work. So we are like very failure tolerant here. This is supported in all major browsers. There is Internet Explorer that it doesn't support it, or it doesn't fully support it, but we just use a polyfill, so we can actually support it in every browser that it's out there. So at this point, we're able to target different devices based on the size of the screen and provide it with the right image resolution. So far everything is looking good. It's pretty simple, like you don't need to do anything special, but we wanted to show you some real data about how this improves the page loading time or the page size of your website. So in order to do that, we took a real example. This is a real blog entry from a famous site, from The Verge. I was just inspecting it, and actually the page size of this website as it is 3.7 megabytes, including, again, CSS, images, HTML, basically everything. This is the total page size. So we mimic this into a Liferay portal. We just basically download the images, we just basically download the styles, we create the same content, and we render it in our blog portlet in Liferay. And this is the data that we got. You can see that based on the different screen size, there are actually like 4 of them, you can see how much page size we are saving. So if we are actually displaying this blog entry in a really small device, like around 300 pixels, we are saving 40% of the page size. So this means that instead of sending 3.7 megabytes, we are sending 2.2 megabytes. The same applies to the different screen size. So even in really large screens, like for example, bigger than 1,280 pixels, we are still saving around 20% of the page size. So this is a huge improvement compared to what it costs, that it's basically free. It's free for your users. They don't need to do anything special. And they're just taking fully advantage of this without even knowing this. So now Adolfo is going to continue explaining the internals of adaptive media.
Okay, so now we want to take a technical view into adaptive media. And first, while developing, we fully embrace the things that OGI brings into the table. So this means that we've ended up with a very modular design. And we have around 30 modules. Not all of them are mandatory. 20 of them, around 20 of them are mandatory if you want to use adaptive media. You don't have to use it if you don't want to. And also, we've taken a lot of care to make sure that everything is very customizable. You can change a lot of pieces and make it work the way you want. Another of our concerns was quality. So every single change we make into adaptive media gets run in 2 different environments. Our own environment in Liferay, where adaptive media gets, the adaptive media tests gets run with all the other things in the portal across all supported application servers and databases. And also we have Travis-based CI, to get quick feedback on our changes and all that. And while test coverage doesn't look very impressive, because we are at 60% right now. Actually, we cover around 80, 90% of the really important stuff because we've been concentrated on that. And we are aiming at covering the rest of the things, and we think that being realistic, we can reach an 80% of coverage. And in general, basically, adaptive media, if you look into the modules, it's divided in 3 different parts. So we have the core thing, and that's basically the integration with documents and media and item selector. And that is the minimum you need if you want to use adaptive media. Then we have the integration with blogs and web content. Those are the 2 main applications we support right now. And while both are optional, you obviously need to deploy at least one of them for this to be useful. And we're planning on supporting more into in the future, like message boards and wiki. And then there are other optional things, optional pieces you can deploy into your server, like, for example, a backwards compatibility module, so that you don't have to modify your old content for it to work with adaptive media. And also, we've integrated, or basically, we've replaced the old thumbnails infrastructure. You can use that also. And well, in this case, you have to. We also provided an optional upgrade process that you can execute. Okay, so now let's look a bit on what happens when you load an image. So, as Sergio explained before, when you load an image, there is some piece that we call an adaptive media processor that has basically 2 responsibilities. The first one, and the most obvious one, is it is responsible for generating, for each configuration that you've defined, the image, the actual image. And the second responsibility it has is to clean up this stuff. If you delete a file, all those images should be deleted. So you can implement your own processors, you can deploy them, and it's very simple because basically this is an interface with 2 methods, one to generate, one to clean up. So it's pretty simple. But you have to be aware that these processors get executed each time you load a file. And while they are executed asynchronously, obviously the more processors you have, the more CPU time this will consume. So you have to measure before doing a lot of things here. Okay, so now the second part is when people edit, have you seen in the video before, when users edit the content, as long as they use the item selector to embed images, everything is absolutely automatic. We've made sure that no other things, you don't need to do any other thing. And the good thing about this is that if you use item selector in your own developments, you get this for free. You can use adaptive media without having to worry about anything, basically. And also, as you've seen, everything is absolutely transparent for the end user, for the user creating the content. He doesn't have to know HTML. He doesn't have to do anything other than selecting an image. The third most important piece here is, okay, so we've processed the content, we've created it, but what happens when people actually see it, go to a page and click on it? So basically what happens is that on render time, so this is done each time a user views the content, another component called the content transformer scans the content, and when item selector adds an image into a blog entry or a web content, what it does is annotates the markup so that this piece, this transformer, can say, okay, I know this is an image that is adapted, so I have to do something with it. And what it will do is basically transform the old img tags into new picture tags based on the configurations that you have. And again, this is fully customizable. You can add your own transformers. And again, you have to be careful because this is executed at runtime. And here you may be thinking, okay, this is probably very bad for performance. And we thought that. And also initially, we had two different strategies for content transformation. We have this one that we called dynamic strategy. But as we were worried about performance, we created another one that is called static strategy. And that static strategy was executed once when you created the content. But we finally removed that because after doing some performance testing, we discovered that the price that you pay for this is pretty low. It's below 5% of a performance drop, so it's not a big deal. Okay, but if you add new transformers, you should measure, because it could be, you maybe will, I mean, maybe you're not willing to pay that price. And okay, another little piece that we have is, okay, so maybe from your application you want to actually do something with adaptive media. And for that we've created a little DSL in Java that is roughly equivalent to SQL. And this will allow you basically to create arbitrary queries by, like content length or the dimensions of the image, obviously the file entry or file version you're going to work with. And this is a pretty simple API. It's very easy to use because it's very fluid. So, by auto-completing the code, you will see what you can and you cannot do. And finally, the last piece that we have, and this is built on top of the Finder API, is a little tag in case you want to embed adapted images into your content. You will simply use this tag, you specify the file entry you want, and any other attributes that you want to propagate into the actual HTML that will be generated, and it will take care of everything and will generate the correct markup. Well, this is basically it.
So in order to do a quick recap, we're talking that we can automatically reduce page size, we can improve the loading time, and we can actually save bandwidth for those mobile devices that they tend to be a little bit more limited. It's 100% transparent. Your content creators, they don't need to learn anything new. They just need to use the current UI. They just need to select the image through the usual procedure with Alloy Editor, with CK Editor, with Image Selector, and it will be automatically included in the content. The way we implemented this is fully configurable and it's fully customizable. This means you can add your own content processors, you can add your own content transformers, you can even customize ours. So it's fully modular, it's fully extensible. And by default, it's integrated with blog entries and web content articles. It's also integrated with, obviously, with documents and media in order to support the file upload and to generate the different images. And we'll increase this list. We'll provide more and more applications that it will be integrated by default in upcoming releases. So how does the future look like? Where are we aiming for next releases of adaptive media? And just a disclaimer, this is not an official roadmap, but this is just only like some things that we're planning to implement in the near future. The first one is automatically defining image resolutions. So instead of forcing the administrator to predefine a set of image resolutions, we want that to be automatically suggested by the portal. Basically knowing your users, so we can say, hey, there is this bunch of users who are accessing to Liferay portal with this kind of device. I suggest you that you add this image resolution. So it's somehow like machine learning algorithms, like very basic, that it will provide you with actual image resolutions that you can apply in the portal. We'd like to implement an actual like really nice REST API. We want to do that with Vulkan, that it will be presented today in Liferay DEVCON. It's a new technology, and we're planning to take advantage of it as soon as it's ready. And of course, as you saw in the previous graphs, video is taking a bigger piece of the pie. So that's one of the things that we want to invest later on to create adaptive videos besides adaptive media, besides adaptive images, sorry. And the same applies to audio. At some point, we also want to be able to create or to provide adaptive audio in your content. Yeah, that's all so far. This is adaptive media. I hope that you enjoyed the presentation. And I don't know if you guys have any question for us.
Hi guys, sorry. I will go one by one. So I'll start at the very end here.
Hi. Nice addition. Thanks.
Thank you.
Maybe another feature is making a selection or a specific cross-section of an image when making an adaptive image for the device. Is that on your roadmap as well?
Yeah, that's something that we've considered, and it's actually a nice idea. Thank you very much for sharing it. We actually thought about implementing it. The thing is that we are not sure if that will fit in adaptive media, because like the concept of adaptive media is more about being like optimizing the content. So I think that fits more into setting different contents for different devices, but that's something that we're for sure considering. I don't know if we will implement it in the upcoming releases, but it's something that we've been thinking about. So thank you for sharing.
Where do you persist these images that you generate?
Okay, so the images, they are stored, like the original image is stored in documents and media. The other images that they are generated, they are stored in the store that is chosen by the portal. This means that if you are storing documents and media in Amazon S3, these images will be stored in Amazon S3. Those are for the bytes, but we also have a table where we store like the size of the image, the width and the height. That's a table that is stored in the database.
Hi.
Go.
I was wondering if you use ImageMagick or the built-in GD library to convert the images because the GD library has so bad quality.
So right now, we are using the one that is used by the portal. This means that if the portal is configured to use ImageMagick, we will use ImageMagick.
The portal does not use ImageMagick.
So
I checked the code. It uses always the GD library. And it has really bad quality.
Okay, yeah, we can check that later. I think that we have like a setting, so you can actually predefine one of those. So the one that you have predefined will be used by Adaptive Media. So if we have GWT, we'll use that one. But if we have ImageMagick, I think that it should use ImageMagick, but we can check it. Anyway, like one of the good things is that that's completely modular, so that's a completely component. So that means that if you are not happy with the quality that we are providing for the resolution, you can actually implement your own image processor, and you can say, this is the image, and it will be totally yours. That means that you can actually perform it, you can transform it, you can customize it the way you want it, and expose it. So it should be pretty easy to change or to change the behavior. But we can check it now.
Hi. I have two questions. First, is the processor configuration per site? Like you can define different resolutions for your different sites?
Right now it's not. Right now it's by company. So that means that you can have different image resolutions by different virtual instances, but we don't have that for sites.
Is it in the plans or?
The truth is that we didn't think about it.
Okay.
But now that you're saying
because
it,
we have a lot
we can
of
talk
different
later.
Sites with different,
we can talk later and you can explain
yeah.
us our use case, because so far we just thought to implement this at the portal level, at the virtual instance. But if we see that it makes sense to have that per site, it should be pretty easy to change it.
Yeah. And are there any plan with Liferay teams to integrate it in document and media? Because I think it's like, it should be native in Liferay.
You said with what? With?
Shipped with document and media natively. Because I think it's like a really great feature and it should be integrated in the portal.
Thank you, yeah. So the way it's implemented is as a separate modules, because we wanted to release it for Liferay 7, so it will be available to the Liferay marketplace, so you can download it and test it. At some point, I guess that it will be shipped with the portal by default, probably, with the bundle. So they will still be independent modules, so you can like disable them or you can remove them if you don't want it, but maybe we'll include it by default with the bundle. Thank you.
What will happen to?
Oh, sorry.
Sorry. What will happen to existing images if you add new resolutions?
So we have an upgrade process. So those thumbnails that you already created, because Document Library already supported that, can be automatically migrated. So you don't need to regenerate those again. So you can just like move them to Adaptive Media very easily with an upgrade process that we provide through the go command in the VCI console. So those all will be migrated and they will be used by Adaptive Media. And if you add new image resolutions, those images will be, you can either like regenerate them, so you can say, all those images that I had, I want them to be new image resolutions, or as long as they are being used, they can automatically be done lazily. So we support both environments. Thank you.
Thank you for the presentation. I have a question regarding the journal article templates. Is it possible, because I saw that I can use a tag in JSP, for example, so is it some extension of the editor for templates to use easily the adaptive images in article templates?
Yeah, so the tag lib that we're providing, you can use that in an AGSP, but also we included some snippets in web content. So while you are creating the structure on the template, you can actually take advantage of Adaptive Media images. So we will include some attributes in the image tag, and they will be automatically rendered with a new picture tag in render time for web content articles.
So, and the other question is, so now it's already in Marketplace, so we can just download it and use it?
Yeah, it's not ready yet. We're in the final process of doing the final review and finishing the documentation, but we are expecting it to be finished by this month. So it should be available through this month. It will be in the Marketplace.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, guys. Sorry, we only have 10 seconds for the last question, so we'll have the last question, and then the guys are available to answer you everything you need after this one.
Great, thanks. We've got quite a few customers in low bandwidth areas. Would it be possible to use this to focus for them, like rather than per device, to link it into where the customer's location is?
Sorry, I didn't hear the first part.
So we got people working in low bandwidth areas. Would it be possible to use this feature to target them rather than per device, to do it per region?
Okay. So right now the way it's implemented is in the picture tag, and that basically supports all kind of media queries. So by default, we're taking advantage of the width and height of the device. But as I said before, it is fully customizable, so you could actually like throw your own component that it will use media queries oriented for bandwidth. As long as the browser supports that, we are totally fine with it. So we are like delegating that to the browser and expecting that it will be implemented more and more by the browser to support all those kind of things, like depending on the battery of the device, depending on the bandwidth of the device, depending on all those features, you can select one image or another image. Thank you.
Okay, guys, thanks. We'll be back in 5 minutes. Thank you, guys.